Hi, it's Lori from Coast to Coast Craft Girls coming to you from the West Coast. Today I wanted to share another Tealight Christmas card that I made. It's a 6x6 from the front, very plain, just, from our home to yours. And then when you open it up, it looks like this on the inside, and you can kind of see through the little windows there, and there's a Christmas tree. But then you can put a tea light inside of it, like that. And let me turn off that light and see if I can get it to show for you. So it looks like that, and the light shines up through the windows onto the Christmas tree. It doesn't show up very well. It's a very bright sunny day here today, so that's probably why. But anyway, it looks really pretty. And folds relatively flat. I mean, it's a little bit bulky, but not too bad. But super easy to make, or not easy, but straightforward. It does take a bit of time because you got to cut in, I had to cut in these windows, and I didn't have a die that would exactly cut in those windows. So I'll show you how I did it, but let's get started. So we start by making the card base, and it's, as I said, it's a 6x6. So I took a 12x12 sheet of paper and I just cut it in half. So I've got a 6x12 scored at 6 inches, and another 6x12 scored at 3, 6, and 9. And this one you want to fold like that because it's going to go there, and that's essentially your card base. And you just glue those together. Now, if you had a 6x6 card base, this is actually fairly thin paper, so I didn't feel bad about doubling it up. If you had a heavyweight 6x6 card base, you could do this by just doing, 3, 6, and maybe a 1/2 inch tab on each side. You wouldn't have to do a full 12-inch piece, so you could probably get away with 7 inches and just put a 1/2 inch tab and, either. And I would put them back in the back because then they wouldn't be they would be somewhat hidden. But this way is really easy to do. It's a lot because you get it in exactly the right spot, because you got to get that in exactly the right spot. Otherwise, when you fold it up, this will be sticking out or it's too far down. And so by doing it this way with the 2 sheets of 6x12, and you just essentially are gluing them flat together, and then they'll come up that way. It's absolutely perfect. It's somewhat foolproof. So anyway, but now I got to cut my windows in. And on this one, you can see I cut my windows into a piece of embossed cardstock. I used a brick embossing folder, but you got to emboss after you cut, otherwise you're going to flatten your emboss when you run it through the die cutting machine to cut. So I got to cut that aperture, and then I got to cut the windows. So to do that, I'll start by cutting the windows. Now, this is a window die from Crafter's Companion. I think it's from, is it Country Lane? It's from one of the collections, and it's got like these kind of shutter things, but I don't want the shutters. I just want that window, and that window happens to be just under 3 inches, and this is 3 inches. So and this is like, what, 2.5, or just under 2.5. So it's just barely small enough. Every other window die that I had was too big. And I like the idea of a window as opposed to just cutting an arch, which I have a set of arch nesting dies, and I actually found one that's almost exactly the perfect size to cut that window aperture. So you could just do the arch, but then you miss out on all of this window detail, which I really liked. So I'm going to use this window die, and the way that I did it is I took this is black matte Centura Pearl, and I'm just going to cut it, and I'm going to cut this part off anyway, so I don't care about that. But I am going to glue it onto acetate, so I went ahead and ran it through my Xyron before I'm going to cut into it. And that just makes it super easy to attach to the acetate. So get it kind of lined up, and I kind of skimped on the card there. Hopefully it'll work. And we're going to run it through a die cutting machine, and I'm going to do this twice, and this will give me the window frame. Okay, there's my 2 window frames. And the nice thing about cutting them on the Xyron is then you can go ahead and pop all these pieces out, but when you peel it up, then it's sticky all the way across the back. Now, I said I didn't want those sides, so I intentionally didn't worry about cutting them, and I'm just going to trim off right where that outside piece of the die would have been. Okay. And I know it's a little bit hard to see when it's still sitting on the backing paper, but you'll see what I mean in a minute. So we're going to go ahead and trim that away. And then see, you can pop out all those pieces. It's a little bit hard because it hasn't cut through on all of the backing, so I'll pop them out when I'm taking it off. I'm going to do the same on the other side. You can see where the shutter was on this one. I'm just going to cut right up where the score line is for that shutter. And same on the other side. And this is what you do when you make do with the die that you have. When you don't have exactly what you want, you find something that's close and you use that. Okay, so there's my door frames. Now I've got my 2 pieces of, this is the card that I'm going to put through the embossing folder, and it's going to go on here after it's embossed. But I want to cut my aperture, and the easiest way to do that is to put the card, to get it, because I got to cut it through both the base card and the card that I'm going to run through the embossing folder. So the easiest way to do that is to cut it at the same time. So just pick where you want it. And I want it not right in the middle, a little bit high because it is a window, not a door. And just about there. Okay, we run that through. And you're cutting on the card, the 6x12 base in the 2 center sections. Okay, so that up. I'll save those for another project. And see, now I've got a perfect fit. Now I can run this through my embossing folder, but I got to do the same thing on the other one, and I want it to be in alignment. So get that in the right spot. And then we're going to line this up so that it's even with the other side. That's about right. And then we'll run that through. And they go that way, so I'm just going to keep those in that order so I know which side they go on. Now I can run these through the embossing folder and then ink them before I put them on. So I've got this brick embossing folder from somewhere, can't remember where. And we're just gonna, and I tried to get this in exactly the same spot, or you know, so that when you're laying it this way, the rows of bricks line up. I don't know how successful I was, but it's close. let me run that through. Now I've got my 2 embossing folders, and I'm going to go ahead and ink those. And what I used was Sandstorm, the Spectrum Noir Water Reactive ink in Sandstorm, which is kind of a light brown. And I just wanted to give it, I didn't want it brown, like using craft card. I just wanted something not white. And just be careful because this is not, it's a fairly thin strip down here. Okay, now I need some acetate on the backs of these, and I'm going to put it between these two pieces of cardstock, between my card base and this. So I just have 2 strips of acetate, and they're going to go on the back side of here, just covering that window. So there's my panels with my windows. They're going to go on here. I'm going to go ahead and put those onto my cards so that they're a little sturdier while I'm working on putting my windows on, my window frames. Okay, so there's my 2 windows with the acetate in. Now we're going to place our window frames right on the inside. Now these windows actually are cut so that they open, but I don't want them to open. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and peel back my backing sheet. If you don't have a Xyron, I mean, you could certainly just cut this and use your dotty tape pen or some wet glue, which is actually what I did the first time. But I thought, oh, you know what? A Xyron would be good, but there. And then you're just going to place that right inside that hole. And it fits. The arch nesting dies that I had literally are almost exactly the right size. So it fits almost perfectly. And just burnish it down really good. Okay. And then I'm going to get this sticky mess out of the way, and then I'll do the second one. As with any glue, you want to really burnish it down good, especially when it's on acetate or a coated cardstock. Just the heat helps activate that glue, and the pressure just helps set it. Okay. All right, so I got my windows in place. I'm going to put my matte layers on these outsides, and I've got some matted cardstock. This is from Crafter's Companion Watercolor Christmas, and then it's just matted on some dark blue. Now I'm going to set that to the side. I'm going to come back to this one. I'm going to decorate the front first, and I just have a 6x6 card panel from the Watercolor Christmas collection that I'm going to use on the front of this one instead of doing the die cut. When I was pulling the paper out of the Watercolor Christmas pad, I saw these and I thought, oh, well, that'll be perfect. So, and then this is going to go on here. So I need to put my matte layers on the back panels. So I've got 2 more matte layers to go there, the same cardstock. And these matte layers are the blue, the dark blue is 2 7/8, and then a 1/4 inch down for the other layer. But that'll give me a perfect matte layer there and still have my 3 inches to glue these panels on. So we're going to glue these together, there and there. Okay. So I found it easiest to do one at a time. And because both of those bottom pieces are 6 by 12, and this is why I say it's easier if you just make the 2 pieces 6 by 12, whereas if you had the smaller piece, you'd have to try and measure and figure out exactly where you attach it. So I just find it easier to do it this way. And just make sure that it's 100% aligned. And it should lay flat because they're exactly the same size. So if you've got them right, you can literally lay it flat to. Okay. And there's your card. Now it's just up to decorating. Okay, so what I did is I matted a little sentiment that I'm going to put in this back. And then I've got a couple of wreaths that I stamped, die cut, and colored. And these are from a very, very old stamp set from Crafter's Companion that I got. I think it was a like super old Sheena collection. And I did put them on my Xyron, but I'm going to actually put a little bit of tacky glue on them as well. And just kind of arrange them where you want them on your windows. And I've got one for each, and they're exactly the same. You don't have to, this would actually be a really pretty card for summer or spring if you put flower boxes on it. So it doesn't have to be a Christmas thing. And then I've got a couple of little red bows that I'm going to put on the tops, and I'm going to use my 3D glue gel for those. And then really you don't have to do anything more. On the other one I did decorate the inside, and I think I'm going to on this one, so that if you're just looking through it with, not in the dark, you'll be able to see through. And I've got some die cuts from the Watercolor Christmas. I just got a little tree and some presents, and I'm just going to use my 3D glue gel and slide those down in. Now you could put this on before you put it together, but since I use 3D glue gel, I didn't want to risk flattening it. So we're just going to center it up in that back panel. And then I've got some presents that I'm going to tuck in there. And I found it easiest if you can kind of get it to stand like that. And then you can reach in there and put your presents in. And if you wanted to do a different decoration on the other side, you could. I'm going to put one of my presents over there. So it looks like it's kind of going around the corner. And that's it. And I'm going to be careful because that glue is still wet. But there's your card. So when you look down through it, you can see like looking in the window to see the Christmas tree. And that other present. It's crooked. Let me straighten it out. But if you stand it up and put that Tealight in there, it just shines through those windows and looks like the light's on inside the house at night, and really beautiful. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you liked that.